Hello, welcome to this CIPS webinar. My name is Fiona Woods, and today we're going to be looking at how to study and prepare for your exams. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to be looking at your study skills and preparation for your exams. So when we count down to exams, we all realise we haven't got anywhere near enough time for the work that we need to do. So we need to be really clear about the time that we have. And I use this model when I prepare for exams. We start at number 1, which is the light blue area. And we work out the time that you've got left between now and when your exams happen. And I'm going to show you a model of how to plan your time really effectively in a minute or two. The next bit we'll look at is starting with the syllabus, and we'll spend some time looking at how to make the syllabus work for you. You need to work out what you don't know, and the bits that you don't know, then you need to read and make notes to fill those gaps. You then need to summarize the information that you've read about and create some mind maps. This really makes sure that you've got that new learning secure in your mind. Lastly, you need to set yourself some questions to really put that learning into practice and prove to yourself that you really do know this stuff. So if we follow this cycle round, then this really will ensure that you are as ready as you can be for your exams. So thinking about planning backwards from the exam day, we all realise that actually exams come up really quickly and we're very busy, and we need to kind of get a plan in place to make sure that we get the revision done in time for our exam. And this is a very simple way of organising that time. So on the far right-hand side, you can see the exam day. And then you've got the days before the exam days in the dark purple line. So we've got the day before the exam being that the day -1, 2 days before the exam -2, and so on. And so today, looking at the left-hand side is day -9. That means we've got 9 days before our exam. The next thing we do is that we work out how many hours a day have you got to spend on your revision. And it might be that you've got lots of time, or it might be that you have quite limited time. It's really important to be honest about how much time you've got to spend, and then you add that into the second of my lines here. So on day -9, I've got 2 hours to spend, in contrast to day -4, where I've got 4 hours to spend. What I then do is I add up all the free hours I've got, and this comes to 22 hours in this example. And I know that I have 4 learning objectives, and that therefore means that I've got 5.5 hours for each learning objective. So then I need to spread my learning objectives across the days that I have available. So you can see then I've got LO1 covering today's date, which is -9, and that's also in day -8 and exam date -7 as well. So you can see that using this model means that I've got the 5 hours covered for each one of those learning objectives right the way through up to the exam day. This makes sure that I've got as much time spent on the LO4, which is the last learning objective, as I have on the first learning objective. And as our exams are examined equally between each of the learning objectives, this makes sure that you've given yourself the best possible chance to cover all of the material that will be assessed. You do need to leave time for eating and resting, seeing your family, and indeed thinking. And this is a model that provides all of those things and works those in within your study plan. But most importantly, this plan ensures that you spend the same amount of time in each one of those learning objectives. And this in itself helps you prepare the best possible way you can for your exam, recognizing that each learning objective is assessed with the same amount of questions and with the same number of marks. The next thing we need to talk about is embracing the syllabus, and here you can see an example of the level 5 syllabus. Really get to know your syllabus, understand the objectives of the syllabus and each one of the learning outcomes, as well as the indicative content that you need to cover. In level 5 and level 6, there's also the opportunity for you to map out your electives. Each one of the level 5 and level 6 syllabuses gives you some choice in your electives, and it's a great idea to map those out so that you can really have an exciting study plan. Create your own study plan and really share that with your employers and with the people that are around you, because it's really exciting. Make sure you book some time off work to really take time to think about your syllabus and have some stretches of time that allow you away from work to reflect on the material that you need to cover. And lastly, as I was explaining earlier, it's really important to plan your study time into the rest of your life. The CIPS exams take some time, and it's important for you to make sure that you follow your exams as well as work and all the other things that are important to you. The really amazing opportunity that we have with the CIPS syllabus is being able to map the theory that we talk about in some of our syllabuses into the practice that you may see at work. Here we have a brilliant opportunity to put that theory into practice. Note down when the theory holds, when things work as you expect, and also when things don't hold, when things are different from that which you would expect. Take the time to think about when the theory holds and when it doesn't. Write those notes up. Explain why you think these things happen in the way that you observe in reality. This really does improve your understanding of how our CIPS syllabus works in practice. Earlier, I was talking about how to work out what you know and what you don't know. And this is a little technique I use with some of my students. What we do is we look at a learning objective, and this is taken from level 5. And the learning objective says to understand, analyze, and apply management and organizational approaches. Then I have 1.1, which is to analyze aspects of organizational behavior. And then I have some indicative content that's denoted by the little blobs that you see. And that indicative content includes the behavior of people, the process of management, organizational metaphors, the psychological contract, and finally, interactions with the external environment. So that's the indicative content I need to work out whether or not I know and how confident I feel about each one of those aspects. So what do? Is I score each one of those elements. My score range is from 0, where I know nothing and I have no confidence about any of that information, all the way up to a score of 3, where I'm fully confident of that information. So in my example here, you can see that the behavior of people is scored at 3, and that means I'm really confident about that information. The process of management is scored 1. Well, this means that I know a little bit about it, but I certainly need to do some revision. And here in this example, the organizational metaphors are scored 0. This means I really don't know anything about this topic area at all. The other areas I've also scored 3 in this example. So by scoring this way, it helps me focus on where do I need to start my revision. Clearly, because I don't know anything about the organizational metaphors piece, highlighted in red, this is really where I need to spend my revision time. I need to focus on that area first to build up my knowledge of organisational metaphors. And once I've done that, I then move on to considering the process of management, because that's the next thing I'm least sure about. So in this way, we focus on the areas that we are least confident of, leaving the areas where we've got greater confidence to later in our revision plan. What this makes sure happens is that we are fully confident of all the material when we go into our exam. The next thing to think about is reflection. Taking time to think. You will be exposed to a huge amount of content in your revision, and it's really important to take time to think about that material. Give yourself time to make connections between the content that you're reading about and perhaps other syllabuses that you've covered historically. Make connections also with what you see around you. How do you see those models and those ideas playing out within your experience at work, but perhaps with your experience at home, in the supermarket, and in other parts of your life? Explain what you've learnt to others. This is a great way of helping you deepen your neural pathways, identify what you know, and indeed identify those areas where you may need to spend a bit more time. Finally, think about using the questions that are freely available on the student zone, the sample questions, to explain why answers are right and why answers are wrong. And I'm thinking here particularly about the objective response answers. We give you a number of questions and we identify the question that's correct, and there will be 3 other questions within that particular area, or 3 other answers that are incorrect. Taking time to explain why the correct question is right and the other 3 are incorrect really does help you understand and stretch your knowledge. The importance of notes, writing, and mind maps. So writing notes deepens your neural pathways. It really does help you remember. Unfortunately, however, no one else's notes are as good as yours. You are a unique person with a unique set of experiences, and your notes are personal to you. So really take the opportunity to spend time writing your own notes, because these will be the ones that help you learn most effectively. Take time and try and find some colours, because this really can help with your recall. So maybe some of your headings are in a different colour, or maybe some of the models that you are using are in a different colour, and this will really help your recall when you're in your exam. Sometimes acronyms and sayings can really help, particularly positioning labels within 4-box models, for example, and share these with your colleagues and with your friends who are also studying. That can really help them too. It's interesting, some research that's recently come to light about highlighting. And that research really tells us that just highlighting alone has very little impact on recall. However, if you highlight and then do something with that information, it might be that you create a set of notes, or it might be that you create some questions or a mind map from that highlighted text, then that highlighting becomes really useful. But on its own, unfortunately, it really doesn't help. So make sure that if you do highlight a passage, make sure that you précis it, summarize it, or do something else with it to make sure that that effort in highlighting goes to good use. Here's an example of a mind map that you can see here. It really does help you to create links between different topics and different ideas. And this really does deepen your knowledge, deepen your understanding, and helps you think through the implications of particular issues that you may be studying. Set yourself questions and make these as difficult as you can. And there's a really important reason why you need to do that. So questions really give you the opportunity to test yourself against what you think you know and really putting that into practice. When you ask yourself a really difficult question, you're placing your knowledge, you're placing yourself right at the edge of your knowledge. And actually, this is the point at which most of your learning takes place. Actually thinking really deeply about the different concepts and how they may fit together is really important in developing your knowledge, your understanding, and indeed your confidence. Even if you need to look up little parts of information to help you answer that question, I can promise you that this is where the deepest learning occurs. And this is where the connections really happen in your mind and will really secure that learning for you. It also exposes you to what you don't know. And this then gives you the opportunity to reflect on the bits that you don't know and then go back, do a little bit more revision to settle and to answer the areas that you're still not sure about. Now, when you set questions like this, they are really hard and they may take you a little bit of time to complete, but they really will make sure that you know your stuff and you've got really high confidence levels. But for this to be effective, you need to be really honest with yourself. If you know something really well and it was really easy and you aced it, you could probably have done a more challenging question and maybe set yourself a tougher question next time. If the question meant that you had to go and look some material up, you've still learned absolutely masses by actually doing that exercise. So do set yourself challenging questions. They have enormous benefit. So let's summarize and think about effective exam preparation. So exam preparation really shouldn't take more than 40 minutes at a sitting. So you need to make sure you block off 40 minutes of time, work really hard, and then stop your exam preparation or your revision, pause, go and do something else for a few minutes before you reset and start again. So making sure that you work in 40-minute blocks is optimal for your learning. Get other people involved, as I said earlier. You know, learning is a community sport. Really involve other people in your learning, explain what it is that you're doing, and take the time to share some of the information that you've learned. Think about what you observe in work and apply this to your revision. So it might well be that you're undertaking a tender at work. See how this works through your revision as well. Think about what you've read. Take time to make the connections and think about the implications of that as well. Explain your revision to non-procurement people as well. This is a great way of ensuring that you are able to explain potentially quite technical information to people that don't really understand procurement. And if you explain it in non-jargon language, this will really ensure that you know your content. Use connectives. A really good connective is "this is good because." If you explain in your explanations the benefits of doing something or the consequences of doing something by using the term "this is good because," it really forces you to explain things using the logical chain that I was explaining earlier. And this is fantastic in making sure that you understand each element of the logical chain. And if you can't explain why something is good, it might be that you need to do a little bit more revision before you move on. Effective exam preparation also includes taking time to rest, to exercise, and to eat well. So look after yourself while you're doing your revision. It's a tough exercise to do, but it is important that you look after yourself. So let's move on to how CIPS can help you with your exam preparation. There are a huge number of CIPS resources available. We have the checkpoint questions in the study guides. I mentioned earlier the sample questions that we have available freely to download in the student zone. Please help yourself to those. We have revision question ebooks for level 4, 5 and 6 that are available through the bookshop. We have a whole range of CIPS e-learning materials. There is the CIPS Hub, there is the CIPS Supply Management Magazine, and there are the whole of CIPS resources at your disposal. So there's a huge amount of material that can help you. Wider reading is also really important, and supply chain and procurement issues are never far from the headlines these days. So take time to look at quality journals and quality news outlets. This example comes from the BBC. Business cases come from a wide range of contexts and really increase the breadth and depth of your knowledge. So this is another opportunity for you to put your knowledge into practice. Follow supply chain stories. They are in the news on a very regular basis. So it leaves me now to thank you very much for your time and to wish you every success in your future exams. Thanks for listening and see you again soon. Bye-bye.